The most ridiculous railway ever. Sounds like a bit of an odd claim, don't it? What could make a railroad ridiculous? Maybe the way they operate? Maybe the reason a railroad was created in the first place? Or maybe it's the cargo the railroad carries? In this case, it's all of the above. Let me introduce you to the Bayside Canadian Railway, the shortest and arguably most genius railroad you've likely never heard of. Before we can go over the railroad's almost comical operations, we have to understand why it was created in the first place. The Bayside Canadian Railway was created in 2012 as a way to exploit the Jones Act, a maritime law enacted in 1920 that states any cargo traveling by boat between two U.S. ports must be carried on an American ship with a mostly American crew. But how could a railroad be used to exploit an old maritime law? Well, here's how it works. The Bayside Canadian Railway is owned and operated by the American Seafoods Company, a business that not only catches fish, but also distributes it, mainly on the East Coast, which means they've got to transport the fish they catch in Alaska all the way to the eastern U.S., and that gets expensive quick. The American Seafoods Company, like most corporations, likes to do things as cheaply as possible on all fronts. So they decided to take advantage of something called the Third Proviso in the Jones Act. In a nutshell, the Third Proviso says, any goods that are being shipped from one American port to another are exempt from the Jones Act, so long as those goods spend a portion of their travel time on a Canadian rail line. For the American Seafoods Company, this means they don't need an expensive American flagged ship to transport goods between American ports. They can instead use cheaper, foreign flagged ships, as long as the goods, in this case fish, spend time on a Canadian train at some point in their journey. For years and years, the American Seafoods Company went about utilizing the Third Proviso the correct way, by using foreign vessels to take fish from Alaska to the East Coast, and having their fish shipped a distance of roughly 30 miles by the New Brunswick Southern Railway. But why go through all the trouble of negotiating deals and paying transport fees to the New Brunswick Southern Railway when you can just build your own railway? Which brings us to the creation of the Bayside Canadian Railway. So, how does the Bayside Canadian Railway operate? It's quite comical, actually. The entire railway is only about 200 foot long. It has only 2 flat cars and a railcar mover for a locomotive. And the only products it carries is trucks full of frozen fish. At one end of the railway is a ramp. Trucks loaded with frozen fish drive up the ramp and on the flat cars, where the railcar mover pulls them to the other side of the track and then pushes them back to the ramp. After that, the trucks simply drive off the flat cars and enter the U.S. via Calais, Maine. Normally, the amount of time goods spend on a train is days, weeks, and in some cases months. But on the Bayside Canadian Railway, goods are only on the train for just a couple minutes, as the trip from one end of the railway to the other takes only about 45 seconds. However, that 45 seconds is a game changer for the American Seafoods Company, since it allows them to use cheaper non-American ships, and also lets them save even more money by not having to pay railroads a transport fee. While this all sounds fine and dandy, the Bayside Canadian Railway might not be around for much longer, since it's basically illegal. One very important caveat in the Jones Act says that goods traveling by Canadian rail must travel on a through route that is recognized by the Surface Transportation Board. So a journey from New Orleans, Louisiana to Winnipeg, Manitoba, or Willow Springs, Illinois to Alliance, Texas would be seen as a through route. But traveling 200 foot back and forth in a parking lot unfortunately doesn't fit the Surface Transportation Board's definition of a through route. This has led to legal action being taken against the Canadian Bayside Railway and the American Seafoods Company. In August of 2021, U.S. Customs and Border Protection gave a $350 million fine to the American Seafoods Company for violations of the Jones Act, claiming that the Canadian Bayside Railway was not a through route and did not adhere to the guidelines stated in the Third Proviso. Naturally, American Seafoods Company fought this and sued in federal court, As far as I'm concerned, the court case is still going, and the Canadian Bayside Railway has been allowed to operate until a final decision has been made. While the Canadian Bayside Railway is interesting, unique, and could also be seen as a genius business move, it's still fraudulent by nature, and will likely be forced to cease operations if it ain't abandoned by the American Seafood Company. Thanks for watching. If y'all enjoyed this video, consider checking out some other ones of mine. Till next time.